let's start with Diontae Johnson. Massive trade last night. I mean, seemingly, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but the Carolina Panthers kind of came out of nowhere. And the fact that it happened, I mean, you could look at social media coverage alone and say Diontae Johnson's trade happened simultaneously with CJ Gardner-Johnson signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. And there were like 3 tweets from major national headlines saying, hey, the Diontae trade happened. And then everybody else was like, CJ Gardner-Johnson's going back to the Eagles. This is crazy. It kind of snuck under the radar. Massive move for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get back Diontae Jackson, a 28-year-old corner spent his whole career with Carolina, and a 6th-round pick. They give up a 7th-round pick, so a late-round swap, and you're going Diontae for Diontae Jackson. When it comes to the salary cap space, I know everybody's a little bit confused about that situation. It basically evens out. The Pittsburgh Steelers lose $500,000 worth of salary cap space because they're taking on some of Diontae's contract. That's okay. They basically null and void. It's a scratch. They get a reliable corner. Your reaction to Diontae headed to the NFC, what are they, South? The NFC South in Carolina.
Yeah, the best division in football. We sat on this podcast and I said to myself, I said to everyone, don't trade Diontae. Like, this doesn't make you any better. And then I found myself last night trying to defend the trade somehow. Like, I thought it was fine, like you don't lose Diontae Johnson or a player of Diontae Johnson's caliber, and I think feel really good about it. But I mean, this was about as good as I feel like the Steelers could have hoped for. You need a corner. You got a guy who has, I think, started every game that he has been healthy for as a professional player. He's got 14 picks over the course of his career. Like, I don't really hate the return for it. And if you believe the reports that Diontae himself demanded this trade, that this was his idea to want to get out of Pittsburgh a little bit, then I don't know. The return almost doesn't matter at that point. At that point, you just need to get someone who doesn't want to be there, out of here. And it's unfortunate to lose a guy of Diontae's caliber, but I think you alluded to, this is a completely deep class of free agent wide receivers and draftable wide receivers. Like, this, if you were going to lose Diontae Johnson, if you were going to trade him away, this is the perfect time to do it. There were too many options, and I don't think this made the Steelers better, but it seemed like a move that they needed to make.
Yeah, look, I agree. I don't think that you look at it and you just initial glance, you're going, Diontae Johnson's worth more than that. This is not splashy enough. You probably could have got more the way that the market was shaping itself out. And I don't know, just Diontae Johnson's worth doesn't seem like it's worth a 28-year-old corner who's had a little bit of injury issues in the past couple of years, who probably, had a good season last year, but didn't have any interceptions. But you just look at the grand scheme of things. The Pittsburgh Steelers didn't lose much salary cap space. They added a veteran corner because they needed a veteran corner. The market for wide receivers is very deep right now, and the NFL draft market for wide receivers is very deep. And the Pittsburgh Steelers probably plan on adding through both free agency and the NFL draft. They needed a corner. They needed a veteran corner, and that option was not there for them. People were talking about L'Jarius Sneed, Jalen Johnson, all these guys. Everybody was gone. Kansas City Chiefs are possibly going to trade Sneed, but it's going to be way higher than just a Diontae Johnson swap for swap trade. You don't have almost any options in free agency. You had to look at it and just say, if the Steelers need a veteran corner, they got to do it through a trade. Diontae Jackson does just that. Plus, on top of that, the Steelers are slow. The Steelers have been a slow team for a long time, and we have talked about how slow that they are. Diontae Jackson is fast, very fast. Maybe the fastest corner in football. Like, the dude is blazing fast. That's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers need. It's not a splashy trade. It's the Cameron Johnston of trades. Good punter, good trade, cool, makes a lot of sense, gets you what you need to get, feel really good about it, makes your team better overall, but not much pizzazz there. But I think it works, and I think that the Steelers got what they needed to get out of it, and they probably feel comfortable. And if Diontae hit the open market and Diontae Jackson was on the open market, and you were able to just sign Diontae Jackson and you let Diontae Johnson walk, people would be pretty okay with that move. I look at it essentially the same way. You just swapped upcoming free agents and said, hey, let's just do this a year early and land a veteran. And I think it makes things a lot easier for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You expect Diontae to, I mean, as of right now, at least, like you looking at that as the Joey Porter, Diontae Jackson 1-2 punch. And do you think it lowers the pressure to draft a corner? Do you still expect that to be a top 1, 2, maybe 3 draft pick for the Steelers?
No, I mean, I think it lowers the pressure like a ton. I don't think you're drafting a corner in the first 2 rounds probably at this point now. Like you've got to get a receiver now too. Unless you sign 1 or 2 in free agency, like you need receivers. You need receivers. You need offensive linemen. Like corner gets bumped way down the list right now. And I mean, whether or not anyone else like thinks that Diontae Jackson is a starting caliber corner and a guy that you can rely on to start in this defense, he's going to start. Like this is not a move that you make unless you believe that Diontae Jackson, unless if you're Omar Khan, you believe that he is a starting caliber corner, a guy that you could lean on. So I get it. Like people might not believe it, but I don't know. Diontae Jackson is here. He's seems to be their guy right now. So I think corner gets bumped way down the list. What were you gonna say?
I don't know about way down the list. I agree with the, maybe a first round corner is off the board, like maybe those guys. I think second round it's still there depending on how things shape out. I think it just makes things very interesting. Like you look at the situation and you go, they still need a center. They got to draft a corner. They're not going to not draft a corner, especially Jackson's on a 1-year deal with these guys. Essentially, you're not going to not draft a corner, especially with how good the class is as well. You definitely need a wide receiver. And I mean, at one point it was like wide receiver maybe in the 4th round. Now you need a top wide receiver. You need an offensive tackle. You probably need a defensive tackle. You don't need an inside linebacker, which is huge. That removes a major need, but you still need a safety. It's just like, it's very interesting how you sit here and just say the Steelers draft board has somewhat gotten like just more diverse, but all top guys. Like you need to fit all these guys into maybe 1, 2, 3 picks, and you have 5 or 6 positions that you have to fill.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up safety too, because safety is a thinning free agent market. Like I assumed they were going to go after one of those big guys in free agency, and they did not do that. Either they didn't or they missed out on them. Like I think Poyer has already signed somewhere. Has Simmons been signed yet, or is
no,
he?
No, I still think they're going to sign Simmons. If I had to guess, Simmons gets signed in the next 48 hours. Like if I had to make a prediction, he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. Then by the end of Thursday, yeah.
Okay.
If I had to guess, there's like
Start
those
buying your Justin
guys.
Simmons jerseys now.
That's what I just think that he makes too much sense. He's going to be cheap. The longer that they wait it out, it's going to work out in their favor. It's like the Omar Khan does things just like one at a time, which I appreciate as a journalist. As somebody who's got to write all this news, I'm very thankful that it's not just boom, 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 rapid fire. It's, you know what? One day we're going to sign Russell Wilson. The next day we're going to sign Patrick Queen. Then we're going to sign Justin Simmons. We're going to trade Diontae at night while everybody's relaxing, just to make sure nobody's like all pressured up, and and then they move on. And I think that they get Simmons. I still think that they get Simmons. If not, I could see. I mean, like Eddie Jackson's still on the board. I think they get the options. You're right, are much less splashy than they were 24 hours ago. The dominoes kind of fell fast, but I think that they still, I don't know, add somebody somewhere.